Because right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, guys, and thank you for tuning in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Andrew Fillipponi. In a matter of moments, over to 93.7 The Fan Cam, and there he is right now, a party with Pony on Friday night. This usually doesn't happen. I love it, though, Pony. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Yeah, it's been anything but a party for me, Richie. I think I've overdosed on cough drops. I've had so many over the last few days. I'm serious. I think I've gone through, today alone, over 100. And so I don't know if that's, cause for me to call my doctor and say, I put too much of this cough syrup in lozenge form into my body, but that's why my voice sounds the way that I am. And so if I absolutely stink tonight on this show, I'm going to blame that. Okay, I'm not playing it 100%, Richie.
Well, you sounded fine on the radio earlier today when I was driving into work.
Thank you.
But what's going on over there? You and Chris are dealing with something.
Well, he's had explosive diarrhea for a long time now. And so he's got to get to the bottom of that. It really makes it difficult running in and out during breaks. So thankfully that's not contagious. He's got to get something, he's got to do something about that, Richie. It's really bad.
All right, well, there's a couple big games this weekend, and the Panthers are looking to bounce back after a disastrous performance in Dallas last weekend. Do you think that they will bounce back, Pony? Because I'm a little worried after watching that game. They couldn't tackle. Their offense has now couldn't get anything going for a couple games, which worries me. Is Eli Holstein, are we seeing, is this the Eli Holstein, the real Eli Holstein right now?
It better not be, because if it is, then they don't have the guy that is here to lead them back to prominence, okay? The guy we've watched the last 3 games, he looks like the player who was battling for the starting spot with Yarnell, where it was not an open shut case. Okay, that's a big problem for Pitt, because they're going to have to make a decision on how much they want to pay him in NIL money at the end of the year. Body of work is still excellent for a first-year redshirt freshman quarterback, but you're not going to win big with the way he's performed lately. Yes, the offensive line has not been as good. Left tackle is a problem because of injuries there. And I thought he was looking down at his feet too often in the SMU game. But everybody struggled in that game, Richie. This game against Virginia has changed. Before, it would have been easy to look past Virginia and look ahead to Clemson and think about that humongous game. But because you lost, now there's no reason to do that. You've got to pound Virginia on tomorrow night. At cold weather at Acrisure Stadium, going to be in the 30s. As Ray Pedlin pointed out, and I think that's good weather for Pitt to get back to playing ferocious defense with those linebackers, with those Sharks. And I think they're going to win the game by 17 points. I'm taking Pitt to bounce back and stay ranked in the top 25.
Yeah, they're a 7.5-point favorite. I think they win this game, too. I'm a little worried about that one receiver. What's his name? Malachi, I forget his last name. The big guy over at UVA. So anyways, because I'm worried because the secondary couldn't tackle. But my question about the Panthers right now, at what point do you have to go to Nate Yarnell?
I don't want to go to Nate Yarnell under almost any circumstance, because Nate Yarnell, to me, is a quality college backup. All right, Nick Patty was a little bit better, I think, as far as Nick Patty should have been given more of a chance the year that Slovis was here, but Pat Narduzzi deemed him more of a quality backup. I think that's what Yarnell ideally is. I don't see him elevating the program to new heights. I don't see him thriving in this Cade Bell offense to the point where you feel like with him that you can get into a college football playoff. Eli Holstein was good enough to get recruited by Texas A&M, and then he ended up at Alabama. So this is a big-time talent, and he looked that way through the first 6 games of the season or 5 games of the season. Richie, you got to be patient with him, and you got to hope that he's healthy, he's over the head injury stuff from the Syracuse game, and he's ready to lock back in against Virginia. Virginia's not an elite team. Let's put up some points in this game. Pitt's got to get back to scoring 30, 40 points against an opponent like them.
Yeah, I think they just ran into a really, really, really good SMU team. I was impressed. That was the first time I watched them this year. They're fast, and I would not be surprised if they win the ACC.
You're going to take them over Miami.
I don't know. I would love to see that game. I would love to see that game.
Well, I'd love to see Pitt in the ACC championship, but I don't see that happening now because of the SMU loss. And now, could they give Miami a game, Pitt? You'd probably say no now with the way their offense is played, but Miami almost lost to Duke. Miami needed a miracle to win at Cal. Miami has shown that their quarterback can win them any game, but they also keep opponents in games. So that would be interesting. I agree. SMU, but everything in that game went right for SMU. The bad Pitt tackling, I'd be interested in seeing that game on a neutral site or up here in Pittsburgh. But right now, it looks like Pitt is going to need one or both of those teams to lose at least once in the last 4 games, and I would say the chances of that happening aren't good. So looks like Pitt right now, Richie's going to have to settle for one of these bowl games, one of these second-tier bowl games, and maybe they can win 10 games, which after a 3-win season would be a huge accomplishment for Pat Narduzzi.
I know it's a long shot, but what if Pitt wins out? Is there any shot at getting into the college football playoffs? Even if they don't make the ACC championship. Say it is Miami and SMU in the ACC championship, Pitt doesn't lose but can't get in. I mean, you can't take 3 ACC teams, correct?
So I'm going to say there's a chance because they would be 11-1. They would not have great wins, though. Their best win would be Clemson. They have a road win at Louisville in this scenario that you're laying out. Louisville just pasted Clemson, so I think they'd be under consideration. I guess gun to my head, I would probably say no. They would still get left out, but barely. You're a one-loss team. You're going to be ranked in the top 15 at the end of the year, and that gets you in the mix for a college football playoff game, even though they won't have any signature wins because of the loss at SMU and the fact that Clemson isn't the team that they've been the last few years, Richie.
All right, we're going to take a break and give your voice a break. Coming up next, we're taking your phone calls. 412-575-2600 is the number. Phone lines are open. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is our GMC tweet of the night. This is from PFF. George Pickens could see more targets against Washington. Pickens is targeted 34.9% of the time in his routes, and when the defense blitzes, the second highest rate of any wide receiver. The Commanders blitz at the 8th highest rate in the NFL, which could lead to increased opportunities for Pickens. What also could lead to increased opportunities for Pickens is the other guy that they got, Mike Williams. I like this deal. More and more, I like him. I'd love to see the Mike Williams from the Chargers. I don't know if he saw the real Mike Williams with the Jets, Pony. I don't know that. But I think what I like about him is I think he's perfect for Russell Wilson. You might disagree with me, but Russell Wilson likes to go down the field. This guy is the best at contested catches in the NFL right now. He's good in tight spaces. I think he can help open up things for Pickens and maybe open up things for Freiermuth in the middle of the field.
Yeah, we're waiting on Freiermuth that they're signing that contract, and there were some in Steelers media who thought that Russell Wilson was going to be able to bring out the best in Pat Freiermuth's game. That has not happened. Freiermuth actually had better numbers with Fields than he has with Russell Wilson, because Wilson really is either very short or very deep downfield, not a lot of in between, and that's where you mostly get Freiermuth in the Steelers offense. I think Mike Williams was a bit of an overpay, but he does fit Russell Wilson's personality, and he gives them another option deep downfield, which you would like to think opens up more of the run game for Najee Harris, who's in the best run of his life right now and the best stretch of his career. And Washington is just dreadful against the run, Richie. They are 28th in the league, and they allow 5 yards per run. They are 31st yards per rushing attempt. So you would think what we're going to see is a lot of effective runs, successful runs, and that means Russell Wilson's going to have one-on-one opportunities deep downfield. And I think we could see Mike Williams right away. I'm going to call it. Mike Williams is going to catch a touchdown pass of more than 50 yards in this game against Washington.
I like the call. That's a good bet. But we've seen the strength versus weakness before, and it doesn't always work out for the Steelers. I mean, you can look at Indianapolis. That was a favorable matchup for the Steelers.
Yeah, we sat right next to each other, and you were chugging orange pop up there.
I hopefully, hopefully I get some orange pop in Washington.
You said don't press your luck there. That place is an absolute raw sewage plant. It's one of the worst stadiums. It is the worst stadium in the NFL. But we were up there watching that game, and Pickens' body language was terrible, and you could tell he was not engaged at times. And then he had that horrible fumble. And maybe this, without making him feel threatened, motivates him even more, because he's played well with Russell Wilson, no doubt. But again, he should have caught that touchdown pass where he got that 1 foot twice and didn't get the second foot down. So I still believe George Pickens can be even better than what he's showing right now. And I am happy for Mike Williams. I'm even more excited that the NFL does not allow for you to trade back for a guy you just dealt, because that means no Deontay Johnson here, Richie. And my goodness, was he terrible for Baltimore last night. 1 catch, 6 yards, and he tripped and fell. He tripped over his own feet on a play in that game. Yeah, because they might have traded for him again. So you think it was an overpay? You think a fifth was too much? Well, yes, because I thought that the Jets were just going to give him away. I mean, the Jets, it was not going to work with Aaron Rodgers and Mike Williams. You heard Mike Williams talk about chemistry being an issue when he got here, and you heard him praise Russell Wilson's leadership over and over again. And everybody interpreted that as him taking a shot at Aaron Rodgers, which it was, because Aaron Rodgers took a shot at him, calling him out for not being in the right place on an interception at the end of the game against Buffalo. Those two guys did not find common ground. And Russell Wilson's done a good job of finding a rapport with these receivers. Even Calvin Austin has gotten involved. So I think that they could have had him for less, but given the need and the fact that we were close to the deadline, I think Omar Khan said, screw it, I got to do it. And Richie, they didn't have the 6th-round pick to give up because the Justin Fields trade. Like, think about that. They gave up less for Justin Fields than renting half a season of Mike Williams. Well, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, I think it works out. I mean, you're right, but they had 2 fifths. So, I don't want to look long-term here, but what worries me about George Pickens, I know we were talking a little bit about it, and it made me think. I think he is a potential guy that would hold out next year if he doesn't get a new deal. Then how much do you pay him? I don't know. It all depends on how this, what right? Do you pay him? It all depends on. Yeah, that's a great question. So it all depends for me how the rest of this season goes. There's a lot of football left. I would not want to give him $30 million a year. Now, I think he should get paid more than, say, the number 2 wide receivers in most places. But I don't want to pay him like an elite guy yet. So, I think maybe somewhere between 20. And is that because of the off-the-field issues? I don't want to interrupt you there, but, I mean, for me, that's what it feels like more. I mean, he's disengaged at times. He looks like he can be the real deal and maybe a top 10 receiver, but it's not all on the field for me. Top 10 talent. No doubt, he's a top 10 talent. He doesn't produce like it consistently enough, and that's why he's more like a top 25 or top 20 wide receiver than he is a top 5 or top 10. The plays where you would say, oh, there's only a 10% chance of him catching this, he makes those plays. The plays where you say a wide receiver should do this 90% of the time, he doesn't make them all the time. And that's the rub on the guy. So, you'd like to think you can find a compromise in there, but if he gets it in his head, to your point, I should get paid like Jamar Chase and like Brandon Ayuk and those guys, well, then I think you might have a problem. I think you will have a problem with him next offseason. All right, let's hit the phone lines. 412-575-2600 is the number. We got Lou out in Strabane. How you doing, Lou? Hey, Lou.
Hey, gentlemen. Good evening. Thanks for taking my call. Former KDKA employee. I just wanted to give a shout-out to some folks there, Denise and Joe Belak and Mike Mason and Annie and all those folks. But my question to you, Pony, big Mets fan. I remember back in the day on the Showdown, you wore a Mets tie when Johan Santana pitched a no-hitter. Why are you wearing a Pirates hat? What's going on here, man?
He has Bucko fever. Thanks, Lou. I appreciate the call. Well, it's because Paul Skeens is the celebrity picker on College Game Day tomorrow. Richie, this is going to be the most publicity the Pirates get on ESPN for the rest of 2024 when he's down at LSU tomorrow in Baton Rouge for that game between LSU and Alabama. And, I'm keeping my fingers crossed on these Pirates, man. They got to do something this offseason to get people back in, because the way last year went in bringing the GM and manager back,
you can't afford to just have it status quo. There needs to maybe not be a gigantic splash, but you got to make moves that get people thinking again that this team can make the next step. Because Richie, last year, I'm sorry, it didn't cut it to have the same record as the year before. No bueno.
What if they don't? What do people do? What can you do? There's nothing you can really do. I mean, I've been an advocate of getting like 2 or 3 guys for the amount of money that they spend for 10 instead of trying to dumpster dive here. But I don't think that they'll do it.
Well, there's been no indication that they will, although there's been a little bit of reporting that they're going to get at least one significant everyday bat, one guy that is an everyday player. Maybe that probably is at first base. Okay, so but what is the definition of everyday bat? Is that Anthony Rizzo from the Yankees, who is a guy that has a relationship with Ben Cherington? Do they get him to take a little bit of a discount to come here? I could see that. The former Cub, a guy that the Pirates had big-time run-ins with back in 2015 when they lost that wild card game, but he's a guy in his 30s, and that's not going to be an expensive signing. So that's what I wonder about. Like, they got to do more than that. They got to shore up their bullpen. They got to get another outfield bat, and they got to get a first baseman, and they got to pray that Brian Hayes isn't as bad as he was last year, Richie.
What do you do at catcher, too, since we're on that topic? I mean, Joey Bart, right? I mean, what do you do with Henry Davis?
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. I think Henry Davis, you can't give him a job. Henry Davis has got to earn his playing time. And so Henry Davis has got to have a monster spring training, and then he's got to maybe make the team as a bench player, as a guy that fills in at catcher, and maybe you experiment again a little bit in the outfield, although he was horrific at that. And he's got to earn playing time by being a better hitter. And if he's not, then look, he already looks like he was a horrible pick. But I'm not just going to hand him a job or guarantee him something or give him something because of where I drafted him. Because, Richie, the results through 2 years here in the big leagues have been absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, and you would hate
They've been hideous.
Yeah, you'd hate to give up on him just yet, but I think this is his last year. He's got to make it go for it here. All right, we're going to take a break. Back in a couple minutes. A big win for the Penguins, big win for Pitt. Penguins won 4-2 in Washington. Pitt beat Murray State 83-67. The Steelers have a huge game on Sunday. I'll give you some inside information. Not all of us picked the Steelers. I like Washington in this game. I just have a bad feeling, even though all the trends say pick the Steelers. I like Washington 23-20.
I like the Steelers to win and win big. I think Washington has definitely taken advantage of playing some really bad teams, and they needed a Hail Mary to keep their home undefeated streak going, and they needed a game against the Giants where New York's kicker got injured on the first play of the game. So I like the Steelers' defense to get after Daniels. I like them to run all over the Washington defense, and I think you're going to come back here with a 7-2 Steelers team with a half-game lead on Baltimore in the AFC North. And Baltimore, the Bengals got screwed last night by those referees on that 2-point play, Richie. They got jobbed.
So 9 games left. Can they go 5-4?
Yes. Yes, but I think that's the best they do.
Yeah. All right, Pony, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Hopefully we see you guys on KDKA News in just a couple minutes.